just kick off, and you'll soon learn a lot about what we do and where we work. So we're from Compare the Market, and Renee was really keen to come here today to talk about the end of search. Such a provocative title, Renee. Let's just jump straight in. What are your thoughts on generative AI being the end of search?
So I think it's probably a bit early to declare the end of search, but generative AI really does change the game. And then it's at a very exciting time because it's real, right? Like, it's not hype, it's actually real. And so if we think about it, I want to go way back. I want to go way back to like the time of Bletchley Park. I'm a bit obsessed with Bletchley Park because that was the first time we probably used a computer to do something useful, to do all of the calculations instead of, huts and huts full of women. And don't be fooled, it was full of women doing all that math. Instead, we introduced the Colossus. And if we look at that spark in the UK more than 70 years ago, we are on a progression. Now, when we think about search, there's a funny thing going around Insta. I spend way too much time on Instagram. But there's a funny thing going around Insta where it says to older folks, how did you find stuff before Google? Right? And it's like, for those of us who can remember, you went to the library. Yes, you went to the library, you had your topic, and you'd go to this box with all these cards in it, and you'd go look stuff up. And then you had to do the work to figure out, is that book any good? And sometimes you'd get about a third of the way through the book to find out it doesn't have what you need. But that's how we search for things. Or if you were very bougie, you might have had an Encyclopedia Britannica, right? And then you'd go look up whatever half a paragraph about the thing you were searching for. The search engines and other search engines are available, but let's talk about Google. Google replaced the card catalog, so you're still the person that has to know what you're looking for and have the discernment to say, is that any use to me or not when you type something in Google? And it's important to us in Compare the Market because most people find our product by typing something into Google, right? So AI, generative AI, and how it interacts with search is really relevant for us. But equally, it brings a lot of opportunity because AI, generative AI, instead of it being the card catalog, it's like a librarian. It's like a really good professor who you can have a conversation with and have a conversational search around what am I looking for. And it will bring back, after looking at like 1 trillion words, what it believes is the best answer to the question, as opposed to, here's a list of stuff, you figure it out.
Yeah, I agree, Renee, but from that, what I hear is generative AI is giving you its considered opinion, right? Right. So what risks do we need to consider with AI giving its considered opinion?
Yeah, I think this is the exciting thing, right? Because it is not linear programming. It is multi-dimensional programming. It's chess on many levels. And it's the first time that a computer will have an opinion. I'm going to say that one more time. An inanimate object will have an opinion. Now, like opinions, if I do a search and I write the same criteria in, most of the time I'm going to get the same stuff back. But generative AI means that probably it's not going to be that consistent. It's going to give its considered opinion. It will decide this one, and next time it'll decide another one. So while this is in its infancy, we need to be mindful, right? And I am unbelievably hopeful, right? Because there's so much scaremongering out about generative AI. I do not want to be in that camp. And everybody talks about it like the Terminator and the Matrix is what it's going to become. But I don't hear people talking about Jarvis, like Tony Stark's Jarvis. When he builds stuff, he's talking to Jarvis. Jarvis is a large language model, right? It is a fantastic interpretation of a model that you can interact with to help you do things better. That's the AI I'm signed up for. By the way, I don't want to be a battery. That's the one I'm signed up for. But getting to that is kind of down to the people in this room. and everybody else in the industry, and how we put the right controls and guardrails around what we're building to make sure that we are thinking about bias, we're thinking about what happens with large language models, and the need for a human in the loop. Like, a human in the loop is absolutely critical. When we think about ChatGPT, so who's used ChatGPT? It's awesome, right? I used it to plan my recent holiday to Italy, right? And it gave me its considered opinion about where should I go and what should I do, having been to Italy many, many times, right? And it was awesome. Like, this is great. Low risk, no problem. I'm a human in the loop who's been there before to go, that's nowhere near Verona. What are they talking about, right? But the need to have that human in the loop is also to be mindful of bias and how quickly, if it's looking at all the words, it needs to be able to filter out words that are unhelpful. So if you think about ChatGPT, that engine was ready. Like, some of the data is really out of date. Has anybody noticed that? Do we know why? Because it's taken 2 years to teach it not to be horrible, right? 2 years to teach it not to be all the ists. And we know what all the ists are, because there's so much in the universe that's horrible. So it means that we in the technology industry have to be mindful of that and continue to make that a priority if we're going to have Jarvis and not the Matrix.
Less Terminator, more Jarvis.
Less Terminator, more Jarvis.
It's exciting, right? It's scary and exciting at the same time. So, compare the market, Renee. As we know, and hopefully you all do too, our purpose is to make financial decision-making a breeze for everybody, right? It's super important.
Mic up.
Can you still hear me? Is this good? Okay. Oh, everyone's saying no. I can't get it much closer. Is that better? Okay. So we exist to make decision-making a breeze for everybody, okay? We really want to help you all save money. How could we leverage generative AI? Compare the market.
Oh, it's exciting. So first of all, Compare the Market is a technology company, right? We don't have a product. We don't have any way to engage with our customers without technology. We are a fintech. We're just a fintech that's actually successful. So we were born of innovation. And so this innovation is something we're absolutely embracing. So as the CTO of Compare the Market, I'll talk about 3 ways that we're looking at using generative AI and are using generative AI in our company. Way number 1, I'm very selfish. I believe put your own mask on before helping any other. So it's about how do we use it to make our software better? How do we use it to reduce toil? Maybe we might have some documentation. What do you think, Ria? Maybe documentation?
Just a little.
And that's actually accurate. Oh my God. So we're looking at how we use some of the products that are already available. So there's like AI Assist, that's a GitLab product. Is GitLab here? I know they're here. They should have come to talk to me. I'm spending plenty of money with y'all. Or Code Whisperer, that's AWS's product. Code Pilot, everybody's heard of these. So we're starting to, I don't say run experiments because we don't got time for that. We're using the products to help us build code. But what I've learned is that these products are most useful right now with experienced developers because these products hallucinate. They still hallucinate. Equally, we're very, very conscious about data security and software security, and I need to make sure that open source products are not putting vulnerabilities into my code. So having a human in the loop, having an experienced human in the loop is really important. But equally, I want to get started yesterday to be able to help our engineers to have more time to spend on interesting things, not documentation. Has documentation ever been interesting? I haven't written code since 1987, and I'm pretty sure it wasn't interesting then, but anyhow. So that's one. So we talked about toil and productivity and quality for engineering. Number 2 is how do we help our business be more productive? So, surprise, surprise, we have lawyers because we have to read a lot of legal documents. And reading them and checking what's changed is unbelievable toil. So using AI to do that, to do the diff, absolutely critical. It means that our very, very precious few lawyers can actually do law as instead of reading documents. So that's one of the things we're doing. And we have lots of other products, like how do we help people to navigate like the reams of Confluence to find what they're looking for. Again, we've been talking to Alexian about using their tools to be able to make that easier. So I'm really excited about that. Now let's talk about customers, right? Because fundamentally, I really see the benefits for customers. Using AI, if we have the ability to do the legal documents, we can now start to look at the documents that customers have about policies. And customers sometimes call us to ask questions, this policy, that policy, what can we do? And so being able to quickly get to the information to be able for our agents to help a customer, still human in the loop, still providing that validation, but that's also training the model. So I can see a day not too far away where we can use those models to allow customers to self-serve about that. And my favorite use case, and the one I'm getting quite excited about, is there are many people, there's probably people in this room for whom English is not your first language, right? I've owned property in a foreign country, in a country where English is not the primary language, and looking at like legal documents in a foreign language is so hard. So imagine being able to provide that translation for the form, for the documents, without us having to write not one other line of code. I see that as an amazing way to make sure that customers, vulnerable customers, customers for whom English is not their primary language, can still get access to the savings that my company can provide. Like that, I'm super excited. So, I think you know I'm excited.
Always.
I think I've talked enough.
You have talked a lot. So I hope that's given everyone a real insight into what Renee also thinks, as well as what we are doing in the workplace. We'd really love to hear from anyone if you've got any questions around how do you think generative AI, or where's Becky with the roving mic?
Becky's got the mic. Don't be shy. I know y'all aren't shy. Come on. I came back because it was such a good crowd last year. Hello.
Hi, I don't know if you can hear me.
Yeah, I can.
Yes, we can.
Hi,
What's your name?
Thank you so much. My name's Kumti.
Hi there, Kumti.
I actually work at USwitch, so I'm very familiar with what you do. Which brings me on to my question. So you said that you don't think that search is going to be replaced fully anytime soon, but do you think about optimizing the website in a similar way to how you do for search for Gen AI?
That's a really good question. I mean, for Gen AI today, if you look at what's happening in the States, so the States is probably at the forefront of using Gen AI search, and they are not linking answers to websites for which IP might be an issue, right? So we're still working through who does the data belong to, and am I allowed to use your data to create or your content to create an answer? So if you look at the websites today, like Bing and ChatGPT, they're going to like blogs of individuals who probably don't have trademarks or registration on their IP. So I think that day is absolutely coming where we have to start thinking about how do we make sure that the large language models can find our information. And then I think it sort of changes the model a little bit, because there is like a B2C model that we're using through search, and now it's kind of almost like, well, how do we expose enough of what we have to be valuable to those types of search? Really good question.
Yeah, great question. Thank you. Any more? Oh, there we go. Becky in the middle.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, you can.
Just going back to what you talked about vulnerability when using generative AI. What sort of procedures do you have in place at Compare the Market just so that you combat the vulnerability, and like how do you make sure that it doesn't happen, and just sort that in place?
So when I talk about generative AI at a customer-facing level, this is a vision for the future. That is not happening today. There would need to be a lot more controls. The way we do it today is we follow all of the consumer duty regulation. We put the customer at the center of what we're doing. We always make sure that like accessibility standards are high, that we're looking after the customers who are vulnerable. And sometimes vulnerability isn't obvious, right? And sometimes people don't want to say they're vulnerable as well. So that's an absolutely like spot on view. And I think this is going to be the hurdle that we collectively have to get through. and why the human in the loop to train the model is so important. Because if we just go, there you go, there's your free translation, who knows what gets translated? Who knows what I always use for translation. Context is so important. And AI will have context, right? But it may not be the right context. So, how many in here speak Italian? Anybody speak Italian? Right? One, right? So you're going to love this one. Saltimbocca. Right? Saltimbocca. It means jump in the mouth. Any idea why I would use that phrase? It's food. Right? Now, if I just translate jump in the mouth, it means nothing. Right? So the context matters. You have to understand idiom, context, so we've got a while to go. And that becomes even more important for vulnerable customers.
Excellent, thank you.
I thought I saw a hand
There was a
over
hand
here.
over here.
Hi, yes. I'm having a great time. How about this room? Oh my goodness. So there's an ambition to have double the number of folks in this room next year, and I think we all need to come back to make sure it happens, yeah?
Hello, hi, can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Hi.
Yes, we can hear you.
Hi, good afternoon, I'm Shantae.
Hi, Shantae.
I just first of all wanted to kind of give you your flowers because I was actually amazed and felt inspired when I saw a CTO as a black female for a company like Compare the Market. So that was my first kind of thing, to be honest with you.
Humbled. Thank you.
And secondly, I think as a young black female in the tech industry, what advice would you give, young, aspiring, up and coming young black females who, kind of have the drive and ambition, and want to reach your level, really, both of your levels, obviously your senior management as well. What would kind of be your kind of key, maybe 3-5 top tips, as to how you got there and what kind of skills or barriers, ways to break barriers and so forth, if that makes sense.
So I have one word, and it's a really important word, and it's for everyone here. Persevere. Persevere. Because it can be so easy to do something else and to quit when it feels hard. This room gives me so much hope that it's not going to feel hard all the time. But if you don't stay in this game, you can't do this. And I am having the time of my life. I found my best job. It's going to be my last job. So there'll be a job open when I retire. But honestly, persevere, it's worth it. And we make such a big difference. I met some of our shareholders recently, and they were like, funny, you don't sound like a CTO. I said, I sound exactly like a CTO because I'm your CTO. Right? Like, persevere. Because we'll do it differently. Our life experience will help us do it differently. And I can only believe that's going to show up better for customers. Just do.
And I'll add to
Go
that.
for it.
So from my perspective, remain curious. Always seek opportunities, even if it doesn't have to be a big opportunity. Get in front of different people, ask questions. There's learning all around us. And just take those opportunities from being curious, from asking questions to getting out there. At the moment in my role, I love it because I'm working with people to give them an opportunity to work in tech who wouldn't traditionally have that opportunity, and it's so rewarding. And a lot of people that are doing so well, it's just because they've got the drive and the passion, and they are knocking on the door, and our door is actually already ajar, right? It's not difficult. I appreciate in other companies it is. But remain curious and just keep learning, keep talking and networking. I think we've possibly got time for maybe one question, maybe two.
Thank you. Hey,
Hi.
Candice, lovely to meet you both and really great to hear what you both have had to say. Just off the back of really lots of the questions that have gone before, what do you both most love about working in the jobs that you do and in the spaces that you do? And how would you say your experience prior to your roles has helped inform how you operate in those positions today?
Go first. Wow, okay. I love my job, and I love my job because I have the opportunity for it to be different every day. I get to speak to great people, work with awesome engineers, but most importantly, I work with a company that want to listen, and it's not just talk for the sake of talk, we make action, right? So we're here, and we're going to be here again next year, we'll probably do it even bigger and better. I was in a different role at Compare the Market previously, looking at how we kind of lead our agile practices and our testing practices. And from there, where I saw some different opportunities, spoke with Renee, how can we do other things better? As a result, we've really enhanced how we bring people into tech roles. So I have got a big focus on looking after emerging talent in technology, making sure they're exposed to different tech stacks, different teams, and that's just so rewarding, watching people grow, and they love that. I think, what was the second part of your question? Oh, the mic's gone. Sorry, what was the second part?
How do you feel like the roles before your role now have informed how you show up in your job today?
I show up as the person that I want to be tomorrow. I don't show up as who I necessarily am today. Like, I have my vision, I have my goal. I'm inspired by working alongside Renee. I absolutely love working alongside Renee. She doesn't lock herself in the office. She's part of what we all do every day. She's about, and so each day I feel like, oh, I'm going to be a little bit more Renee. And I just start and live that.
Yeah, I'll be more Ria.
And do you know what? Sometimes you just fake it till you make it, and that's kind of what I do. Renee suggested a book to me to read, which I'll call it out. What got you here won't get you there. And it's always very much about looking forward and what do I need to stop doing and start doing something new. So I'd say all of my previous experience is hugely valuable, because without it I wouldn't be here today. But yeah, that's what I'd say. Renee?
I love my job because I've had some fantastic jobs and I've worked for some amazing companies. What I love about Compare the Market is that we don't make money unless we can save people money. So the purity of the mission means that I'm using my skill set to actually hopefully help people at a time when people need to save money. So first of all, there's huge alignment with the values, the purpose, why I get up every day to go to work. That's number one.
Yeah.
Number two, I work with amazing people, super curious people, and we have a way of working at Compare the Market that is as close to engineering product-led as I've ever seen. We become more agile every day. We iterate. We actually iterate. We ask engineers, how should we solve this problem? So all this stuff I've been reading about in my career and places that tried to do it, because it's hard, right? You have to change everything about your company, not just how software engineering runs, to really, really run an agile environment. And I'm not a full-on agilista, but it's probably the best model I've seen, and especially when people get behind it. So we have an operating model. That means we have multidiscipline teams. The engineers are at the center. My boss just told our senior shareholders that in our quarterly, we plan every quarter, right? And we had a quarterly planning meeting, and this one was rough because now, prioritization's getting hard, and you have to give up stuff that everybody cares about, and it was and it's really collaborative. Nobody's taking anybody's knees out. There's no bus. Nobody throws on anybody in a bus. It is really bizarrely kind that way. But my boss said to the shareholders, what was different from 18 months ago when they were here last is that the people who were leading the conversation about the challenges, the opportunities, what we should do, were the tech leaders. What? And that is phenomenal, because we're a tech company. Those are the people who should be talking. And where I've worked before, sometimes that was true, not always, because they always identified as something else. I'm a media company, I'm a consulting company, and that's great, that's fine. But we identify as a tech company, a fintech company, and it's starting to show. So that's what I love about it. They feed us free breakfast, that's good too.
Oh, the food is
Oh my God, I have gained so much weight, so I'm working on that. But we have a really nice gym.
We have a lovely
and an annoying man that follows me around saying, when are we going to see you in the gym? I was like, that's a bit harsh. Honestly. Usually in the line for the food. I kid you not.
Yeah. I think...
Is that us?
We could...
4 minutes. We could do one more question quick.
Where's Becky?
Quick.
Great, thanks so much. I'm curious about the recruiting practices for baby boomers, because my focus is on helping baby boomers reinvent themselves psychologically, practically and technically. So as a very kind of open company, I'm interested, I'm curious about what the recruiting practices are, particularly as we're now moving into multi-generational teams.
So let me talk about that because we just had a intern program last summer where one of the interns doing a job placement with us was a woman in her mid-40s. So early careers, when we talk about early careers, so career changers or people who are coming into tech, doesn't mean young, right? We see people at all levels coming in and having a contribution. I'll be really honest, I don't know that we have something specific about how we are attracting, I'm going to say older, I'm a baby boomer, so, I am not older, by the way, mature work people. I often quip that my shoes I have shoes older than some of my team, but that's okay. So we don't have anything specific, but I think it's a really fair point because we need more mature people to come back into the workplace if they've left, or also recognize that they may be changing careers. And my goodness, do we have skills that the workplace can use? Resilience much? So thank you. I'm going to find you afterwards. I'd love to meet and talk a little bit more about that.
I'll just add to that as well, Renee. So from our internship last year, we had about 5-6 people that came for the period of about 10 weeks. And one of the ladies has taken a permanent role with us, and she is a lady in her mid-40s. And for a current program that we've got at the moment, we've got another 2 mature people in that program as well. So it definitely isn't early careers. We talk about emerging talent, which comes from everywhere. We have career changers too. We have NHS workers. So when you talk about resilience, we're bringing in people with great resilience who've had NHS experience, teachers, bankers, fashion designers. So we work with lots of people. We're open to talking to people. And I suppose to wrap up to say, actually, we'll have vacancies live probably mid-November. Some of those might not well be at emerging talent levels, but we always post throughout the year. So probably towards the end of the year, calendar year, beginning of next, we'll have our next opening for emerging talent. And all we'd say is remain curious, right? Come and talk to us about these things. We have great training programs. We work with great training providers which will support your journey. So if you like what you've heard, or even if you don't like what you've heard and want to talk to us more, we're just around the corner opposite the main stage on D5. We might have a few cookies left that you might want to have with a cuppa later. So yeah, come and speak to us some more, and it's been really great. And I suppose the last little thing to say is we're running a bit of an anagram prize actually, and our next prize goes live. Our next anagram goes live at 4:00. Quickest and fastest to solve that anagram gets an awesome swag bag, as well as a £100 voucher. So do come and see us.
So that's all we have time for. Thank you, everyone who came out to hear us. At Compare the Market, we exist to make financial decision-making a breeze for everyone. I'll say the same thing I say every year. Please switch when you have anything by like a subscription, whether it's your car insurance, your home insurance, your energy supplier, when they let us do that again, your broadband, switch. That's how you will save money. I would love for you to use our site, but I care more that you switch. It keeps the market competitive. It makes sure that you get the savings you deserve. So if you haven't switched, go home and switch something today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.